Welcome to MSP Voice, the weekly show for MSPs by MSPs. Brought to you by Cloudberry, the #1 cross-platform cloud backup. Learn more at cloudberrylab.com. This is MSP Voice. Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. This is episode number 55. Fun episode today. One of my favorite guests is back, Bob Coppedge. He was in episode 33 a while back, talked about monthly recurring relationships. That was the title of the episode. But he's written a book. On that episode, he mentioned that he was writing a book about co-managed IT. That book is now out. I took a read. I wanted to have Bob back to talk about it. Fun episode, fun interview. He talks all about the book, what it means, and those types of things. So be sure to stick around and check that out. Housekeeping, mspvoice.com is your source for all things MSP Voice. We've got a webinar with Tech Stack that we're doing this week, so look for the replay on that if you can't make it live. We'll post the video for that either this week or early next week, so be on the lookout for that. Again, if you want to be a guest, just click on the Be the Next Guest and fill out the form. I'm always looking for new guests. Don't worry if you're small, if you're big, if you're new, if you're old. Doesn't matter. We like to hear all the different types of stories out there from the MSP community. So let's do a little bit of news here, just a couple of things, only because I covered this last week. But guess what? Your partner product licensing changes are not happening. So if you're using Microsoft's partner program to run your business, last week there was all sorts of uproar about Microsoft making changes to the program, not allowing you to do that anymore. Well, guess what? They have seen the error of their ways and have capitulated and now basically say that there are no changes coming next year. So that's good news. In a note, Gabriella Schuster said, given your feedback, we have made a decision to roll back all planned changes related to internal use rights and competency timelines that were announced earlier this month. This means you will experience no material changes this coming fiscal year, and you will not be subject to reduced IUR license or increased cost related to those licenses next July as previously announced. We listened to you and we have acted. So thank you for that message, Gabriella. I know it's a well received just because people were so up in arms over this change that they were going to make. And of course, the fact that they announced it just a week or so before their Worldwide Partner Conference didn't help. So the fact that they changed course before the Worldwide Partner Conference, which is happening this week in Las Vegas, I think, obviously says, hey, they heard you and they're not going to make those changes. Next up is a little bit security focused, especially if you use Amazon and you have any S3 buckets out there. Company went and checked, and if you have public right access enabled on your bucket, there's a good chance you are infected with MageCart. So they found over 17,000 MageCart infections. Essentially what MageCart does is it inserts code into this bucket, and then if your site accepts credit card information, it sits there and waits. Once people enter that card information, it then shoots it off to the bad people, which now they can use that card. So it's essentially skimming, but on the web. So you definitely want to look out for this. If you use S3, check your buckets, check the security. This article here gives you some tips on what to do and how to do it. But it's definitely one of those things. You may not take credit card payments, but that doesn't matter. This attack seems to be, instead of trying to focus on websites that take credit card information, we're just going to go out there and scan every S3 bucket we can see. And if it's available, we're going to put this in there and sit and wait and hope that someday they take card payments. So definitely you want to check your S3 bucket permissions and get that fix in place as soon as possible. So I promised you a great interview. Do want to mention, though, again, Bob's book. It's the MSP Survival Guide to Co-Managed IT Services. Again, it's an easy read, quick read, but Bob gives some really great advice, not just on what is co-managed IT services or what are co-managed IT services, but also how to market, how to sell, and how to deliver. Check it out if you're looking to expand your business. Take a listen to Bob in the interview, and I will talk to you next week. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. Today I am pleased to be joined again by Bob Coppedge. Bob, how you doing out there?
Oh, Peachy, how are you though? That's what we care about.
I am great. I actually
Yeah.
just read this really good book.
Oh, what was it?
It was the
Couldn't have been
MSP
mine.
Survival Guide to Co-Managed IT Services, a crotchety old geek's roadmap on marketing, selling, providing managed services to organizations with existing IT staff.
That was well done. That could be like either a sobriety test or, when you want to check your lung capacity. Can you read that whole thing out? I really should have made it so it spelled out something. You took all the initials.
uh,
Anyway,
well, I mean, CoMITS is the idea here. So
right.
you've written a book on co-managed IT services, which you call CoMITS for short,
Yep.
and it's a great guide. It's available on Amazon. The link will be in the show notes for those of you that want to check it out. I have read it. I'm one of the 3 5-star reviews that you have down at the bottom there.
Thank you.
So, I really enjoyed it. And, when I had you on here last time, you mentioned that you were writing a book on co-managed IT services, and I was waiting for it to be released. I saw it, read it, loved it. So
Cool.
give us an idea behind what this idea of co-managed IT services is.
Well, I wish I could take credit for it. And it's one of those things where we kind of stumbled onto it. The whole idea is that historically, from the managed service concept, it has been, when we talk about IT service models or IT service delivery models for organizations, the idea of a potential customer having an IT department was like, okay, we'll stop talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
It was an either or thing. So you had these litmus tests of when an MSP would talk to a potential customer, it would be, do you have an internal IT department? No, we don't. Great. Let's talk managed services. Yes, we do. Do you like them?
Yeah.
No, we don't. Great. Let's talk managed services. Yeah, we do like them. Move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And what a lot of companies would do is they would push and we were guilty of it too. You would push let's do a monitoring only agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And the monitoring only agreement was done in such a way, and I'm still hearing it because I'm talking to MSPs who are doing the co-managed concept now. And the customer, you basically are monitoring. They get occasional alerts, whatever, but there's no real buy-in. So the customer is like, "Why am I paying this money? I get occasional alerts, but anytime anybody fixes anything, I have to pay for it an additional." So they don't see the value. And we found that we had several situations, and we've been around for about 12 years or so. And we're a managed service provider. We still do a little break fix because people ask us to, and they're paying a lot of money. But by and large, 75% of our revenue comes from recurring revenue agreements, and the rest comes from mostly projects for those guys. But we found ourselves in several situations where we had role-based relationships with companies that had existing IT departments. And one of the keynotes at IT Nation about two and a half years ago was talked about co-managed IT services as a great opportunity. And I was sitting with our tech director, Kevin Dukevich here, and it was like, oh, that's what we're doing. Huh. And then we said, well, why don't we formalize that? And by formalizing, it was a question of how do we go to market instead of just stumbling onto them and trying to come up with a way of, yeah, we can make it work, I guess.
Yeah.
Can we instead actually formalize it in a way that doesn't go against our MSP, for lack of a better word, pure MSP, but actually brings on the value of managed service providers to potential customers. And that was in the beginning of 2018, when we started really formally doing that. And we had a heck of a run. Our revenue was up by about 30% last year.
Great.
So far, we're closer to 20%, which is actually a healthier growth as far as I'm concerned. And well over half of that is from CoMITS. And so we're taking the co-managed IT concept and we're actually marketing it. We're selling it. It's not an afterthought or I guess we could do it that way kind of thing. And we're finding it being fairly successful. And I spoke at the last IT Nation. I spoke. I'm a big fan of Robin Robbins. She's not a big fan of mine. I don't know why she took out that restraining order. I thought but anyway.
So you're not allowed in Nashville anymore? Is that what's going on?
Oh no, no. As long as the check's clear, I'm always allowed. No.
Oh, okay.
and I kid. Actually, I'm a big fan of her program and all of that, and we've been able to use that and move that over to some of the CoMITS things. And I've spoken at in Nashville a couple of times about the co-managed IT concept, and then I spoke at MSP World in Austin a few months ago. So I've spoken at a number of places on this, and it's interesting. And I also did DattoCon. And it's one of those where I've never talked to an MSP who is doing CoMITS, and who is marketing for it.
Yeah.
I've spoken to several of them, and actually at the last DattoCon, there were several who are doing it in some way or shape or form, and that number is increasing, but it's the marketing and the sales part that seem to be on the weak side of the fence.
Okay, and that's what the book lays out, I think, extremely well. Is okay. Here's what it is. You're probably already doing it, and here's what we've done to make it successful and make it part of our business.
Right.
So it really is, a guide for other MSPs to take a look at and say, hey, you might already be doing it. Why not market and sell it and make more revenue? Right.
and it's a crazy thought, making more money. But we thought we'd give that a try. So the challenge is the way that we push CoMITS is essentially, it actually works best because some people think, oh, co-managed IT services, the customer has to have a large IT staff in order for this to be worthwhile. And actually, to a certain degree, exactly the opposite, at least the way we're playing it works well. Because you have these IT organizations, when I say that, I'm talking about the customer side of things, where they don't have the maturity, they don't have the time, they don't have the size of their organization isn't large enough, so they can't do documentation, they can't do ticketing, they can't implement a good, healthy monitoring, they can't do all of those things that we do every day.
Yeah.
And we've already configured it, we've already done these things. So the way I put CoMITS, and what we used to do, both as an industry and ourselves, is we would push monitoring only. That was our go-to. Well, if you get your foot in the door with monitoring only, then you're monitoring the network, and when you find something bad, you can go in and save it, and boy, you'll be great, and you'll charge for that, you'll make lots of money, and life will be great.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that when somebody has an IT department, all they see are these alerts. They have no idea why. They have no, and every time an alert comes up, you come around and say, I want to charge you money to fix it. So there's a disengagement there.
Yeah.
That the customer is looking at, why are we doing this? What we do is we take the CoMITS side, where we're basically saying we're actually going to partner, and this is the key thing. We're going to partner with the internal IT department, and we're basically going to, the way I push it is, we're going to lift them up, slide all of the tools that we use under them, and then let them use those tools.
Yes, your STMPs.
Right. Absolutely. I want to have as many acronyms as I can come up with.
Yes. And I saw that, and I'm like, well, that's kind of confusing with SMTP, but it's, you switch the T and the M around and you get SMTP.
Right.
So.
Well, and which is fine, because I'm old enough that I also get SNMP mixed up with SMTP.
There you go.
Then I try to do an FTP to my FTX, and it just doesn't go well. It was funny because I was meeting with a guy in the financial potential customer who actually signed up, silly fool, and we got into a TLA off, where he's like throwing out these 3-letter acronyms about the financial world. I'm giving them right back with the MSP world, MSP 3-letter.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah, but that was, I think one of the cool things that I hadn't really thought about is, what you talk about is you take the tools and processes that you would normally use at a pure MSP organization, and you bring that to the co-managed IT. So you're all using the same,
right?
You're all using the same processes. So like you said, it is a team. It's not a, well, right, I'm going to use these tools, you're going to use those, and we should never cross paths. It's
right,
completely different.
Never cross the streams.
Yes.
and what ends up happening here, because we're always looking for stickiness, we're always looking for that glue, so that a customer is going to maintain the relationship. And by the customer in this case, I'm talking about the IT guy.
Yeah.
Because here's the key thing, is that when we're in a pure MSP relationship, Our relationship is primarily with the management, with the ownership of the company, because at the end of the day, we make them look good, we make them happy, life is good, yay. In this case, it does get a little more complicated, but there's payoff with this, is your actual goal is to make the IT look good, which includes and is actually led by their internal IT department. Because one of the biggest things is, you're here to take my job. Because that's what we've been doing for the last 15 years, is we go into companies and we say, hey, we can run your IT department cheaper than that guy you got. Why don't you get rid of him?
Yeah.
And then we'll have fun. And now we're going in and we're saying, hey, we can make this person, we can make this group more effective, better, more valuable. And we'll do it for much less than us doing it much less for if we just came in and do the internal IT, but it's going to be done in such a way that their productivity is going to be improved.
Yeah, and you kind of break it down into hey, if they have internal IT, maybe they do desktops, and you guys do servers, or maybe they do servers, you do desktops and help desk. So you kind of find, instead of trying to do everything, let's say, hey, you know what, you guys handle this side of the business, we'll handle this side. Right. We're all using the same tools. So if there is an issue, you can escalate to us. It just makes it seem simple.
It really does. And that's the nice thing about it, because if everybody buys into the whole concept. So we've got basically 3 models that we go with, and we can modify accordingly, but it's full CoMITS, server CoMITS, and end user or desktop CoMITS.
Yeah.
Full CoMITS is essentially, we're going to give you all the tools that you need, including the ticketing, including the RMM, the PSA, the IT glue documentation, all of the portals, everything. We're going to give you access to all of them, and you will handle them. So when people submit tickets to manage or to Autotask or to whatever, they get the tickets and they work on the tickets using the same remote tools that we do. And then if they have any questions, like, I'm not quite sure how to do this, should I try this, should I try that, we don't charge additional for that. Okay. Because we're already charging for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not just a monitoring only. Okay. So it's more expensive than a monitoring only. But if you have questions, we'll absolutely, you want to do a check just to make sure, sanity check, no problem. If, however, you want us to do it, you escalate, meaning the IT person escalates the ticket. Now, same ticket is now over on our side of the fence. It is now billable.
Yeah.
It's billable because that person took, so there's no surprises. There's no, and if you want to look over our shoulder, so next time, or you want to look at the ticket, so next time you don't have to escalate it to us. Hey, that's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's for full CoMITS. And then server CoMITS is essentially where the IT department, they want to handle all the servers and infrastructures. We'll handle the desktops and end users. And desktop CoMITS is exactly the reverse. And that's where essentially the tickets and the alerts are parsed based on the device or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But the same thing, it basically is true. So what we're basically doing is we're saying, and this gets back to your earlier comment, why do they like their IT department? They like their IT department because manufacturing companies, and nobody understands the stuff out on the shop floor like Susan. Yeah. Susan knows how to run every PNC machine, and we're never going to. We never will, not as well as Susan does. So what if we freed up Susan so that she can focus on that, which brings more value to the company?
Yeah.
Same thing if you've got somebody who's a great data analyst but has to go out and, reset passwords, things along those lines, as well as who's going to take a vacation, yada, yada, yada. So we try to find what is the value that makes them like their IT department, and then how do we shore up that value and free them up so that they could do more of that, but in a way that's a partnership. So we're not looking to take anybody's job.
And I think that's the other important aspect. And as I was going through it, and you're talking about working with the existing internal IT, I went back to a lot of my past experience with enterprise software sales and even consulting, where you want to gain their trust. Let them know that you're not there to take their job, but at the same time, as you're working with them, you're looking for opportunities. You're looking for, like you said, what are they good at? How can I add value? Yeah. And making sure, and then working with them in a non-adversarial format to say, hey, look, let's be friends, and I can help you, and you can do more. You can dedicate more of your time to this if that's what you want to do. And
Absolutely.
take this off your plate, and everyone will be much happier.
It's like the conversation I had last time, and we came up with that new definition of MRR, monthly recurring relationship. This is actually doubling down on that, because, and one of the analogies that I use frequently is the ham and eggs breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
The involvement, interest, and commitment. The chicken was interested in the eggs. The pig was committed.
Yeah.
When you're talking to a potential customer in the CoMITS side, management is interested. I mean, they absolutely want the stuff to work because it's their company and all that kind of thing. But the IT person, they're committed to this. They have to be committed to this. They have to absolutely, because this is the biggest Achilles heel of this whole concept. If you do not have buy-in on both sides, and by that I mean you as well as the IT person, if you don't have commitment, it is not going to work, and it's going to be ugly.
Yeah, and that's why enterprise software sales, right? You want the IT department, people who are going to be using the whatever you're trying to sell them, to be committed to understanding, yes, this is going to make my life better, versus just going to the C-level and having them push it down, and they had no involvement in what was going on. So it's
absolutely.
And that, like I said, there's a lot of parallels there, and something that I think people should definitely understand as they're looking at, hey, are you doing CoMITS? Do you want to do CoMITS? Because there's definitely a process to it.
And you have to you have to honestly believe this concept of support and developing. Because I remember one of the first times I did a public talk, I think it might have been at one of Robin's things last year, about CoMITS. And somebody came up to me, and I'm pushing though. You got to support these people. You've got to be primarily, how do you make them look good? How do you make that a successful relationship? And somebody came up to me immediately afterwards, like, wow, that is absolutely brilliant. We're going to do this. And then when that guy screws up, we'll be right there to take over their job. No. That's the whole. It's if they're going to screw up, you're there to stop them. You're there to help them so that they understand that not to, you don't just turn servers off in the middle of the day, whatever. Because that's how you build. To get back to that whole glue, we want that relationship.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a circumstance where you're going to be working with someone in an internal IT role who really is horrible? Yes, and you'll have to deal with that, just like you deal with a traditional situation where ownership or key people are detrimental to the relationship. That's you got to deal with that, but you're not looking to set that up so you can take advantage of it down the road. Absolutely not.
And then you also said, when something is going right and going good, to make sure that you're giving credit to that internal IT department.
Absolutely.
Because you want to make them look good.
Yeah, because no one in the room is going to say, well, that's good. Susan or Tom or whatever did everything, and you guys are losers. There's enough value to go around if you're communicating effectively and properly, if you've got that team concept going, all that. There's plenty of success. There's plenty of good vibes to go around. And if you help this, especially if you're coming, if the reason you're brought on board is because this internal IT person is under pressure, if not under siege, I can't take a day off. Nobody listens to me. I haven't learned a new thing in 10 years. We need to upgrade. Every time we bring in a vendor, and we refer to them as seagulls. Every time we bring in a seagull vendor, they come in, squawk, drop a lot of crap, make a lot of noise, drop a lot of bills, and then fly away. How do we build that relationship? We're gonna be the rescuers. We're gonna make that person so much happier, but we have to go over that hurdle of how do we earn that trust, and sharing the credit is fantastic, and it's easy if you're willing to do it.
Some people aren't, but
absolutely. But thankfully, everyone I know in IT is so good at interpersonal skills and relationship. Why are you laughing at me? I'm not funny. Shut up! Shut up!
I'm laughing at me.
No, but it's one of those where it actually, if you can pull this off, it actually is a great value add to essentially say, no, we'll even help you with your soft skills.
Yeah. Well, that brings me up to another point, and it actually occurred to me at an event that I was at, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And I think you said something like, you can present in front of a room full of 500 people, no problem.
Yeah.
But put you in a room of 500 people and expect you to network and talk to people, and it's a painful experience.
I truly can't do it. I mean, it's one of those. I am not a people person at all. I don't care for them. I think they were a bad mistake overall. There's a Charlie Brown poster of Linus Van Pelt. I'm dating myself, of course, here, where it says, "I love mankind. It's people I can't stand."
Yeah,
that's me. That's me. And it's one of those where I've had to develop the skills. I've had to do it. Mm-hmm. But it is. To be blunt, I am. I don't do well just doing the networking and all. And it was funny because at another presentation I had, somebody came up afterwards and said, "Oh man, you and I are kindred spirits. Let me give you a hug." And I like, okay, that proves we are not kindred spirits. And he meant well, and it was just one of those. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to.
So, what haven't we covered yet? Like I said, I took some notes as I was going through. I've hit a lot of those notes. Anything else? Because I know you wrote the book a couple of months ago, and yep. You said it's not necessarily a best practice, right? Because you're gonna make changes as you go along.
Yep.
Have you already figured out, hey, maybe we need to tweak this or tweak that, or some things that changed?
Oh, absolutely. And some of it is a maturity process. So we are. So let's start with what's in the book that is useful. I'm sure there's something in there. So the book is basically spread out into 4 sections. And mm-hmm. first of all is just the overview. What is the concept of CoMITS, co-managed IT services? Then we talk about how to market. And one of the things that we realized early on was you're marketing to the IT person.
Yeah.
You have to go through that person. It gets back to the ham and eggs comment earlier.
Yeah.
And all of your traditional marketing tools work, relatively speaking, but you have to tweak it because traditional marketing for the MSP is your network is horrible, your IT support is horrible, let's replace it.
Yeah.
Now it's your network is okay, it's not horrible, but instead you need to talk about what is the health of the IT department in its efforts to manage and maintain the network.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're really talking about how do we help your IT resource get better.
Yeah.
And the same thing from a sales standpoint. And then the third section is selling IT, which again goes through the IT person from what I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth is actually delivering the services. Now, one of the things that we state is that using these models, you can pretty much take what you're already doing if you are truly doing an appropriate, legal, honest, ethical MSP program.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to be open about it, you can really do what you're doing and just bring them into it. So when we talk about the framework, it's really your framework, just how do we adjust it?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where our approach works, which will not work well for large-scale companies who are going to enterprise-level organizations
mm-hmm.
and really coming up with high-level CoMITS. This is really meant for the smaller, the SMB guys.
Yeah.
Like us, we're about 15 employees, a couple million in revenue. The one thing that I am finding that I need to do a better job of, and we're finally getting to the point of doing this, is I need to build, we always talk about the network assessment, the overall assessment of the infrastructure of all that. I'm working now on coming up with what is the IT department assessment.
Okay.
Is what tools can we use that actually, in a non-threatening way, can go in and say, how's your documentation? How's your backup procedures? How well are you doing password management and security? In such a way so that we can identify, here are the values we bring based on the priorities you see as the IT person and share with your management. And it's a very different way than just taking Network Detective and Quozle or whatever. There it is.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to have that done more formal, a formal process for that in the next couple of months.
Okay. Yeah. You don't want to necessarily call it like a scorecard of, hey, you're failing here, failing here, failing here.
Right.
But you need to have a good understanding of where the pressure points are. What are they doing well? Where do they need help to understand, hey, this is what this CoMIT's going to look like.
And the best way to do that is to have them tell you what they need to work on.
Yeah.
It gets back to the whole concept of to basically get them to open up that, hey, we want to partner with you, we want to do this, we want to do that, and for the I know I need to get better at this, I need to move towards this, I need to do, and that to somehow use this mechanism as such a way to start that process of building the relationship, as well as giving the person something to walk away from and say, wow, even if I don't use these Yahoos, I've got something in my hand that's going to be useful.
Yeah.
Because that's how you start building the relationship.
Yep.
By giving value, in my opinion, not by we'll give you value if you give us this, but no, we'll give you value so we could demonstrate how the relationship will be valuable.
Yeah.
And then move forward.
Cool.
So yeah.
Great. It's I guess my next question is, what's the next book?
Actually, I hate to say this. There is another book coming, and it's stupid because I'm an idiot. And we've already established that. So I wrote a book for my competition to go out and do what I'm and it's one of those where it really just sort of hit me, a month or so, or a month before it finally came out, that wasn't necessarily the right book to write next. So my next book is actually going to be a very small version of this, but it's going to be written for IT management as to whether or not CoMITS is appropriate for them.
Yeah.
So, because right now I've got my first book, the CEO's Survival Guide to Information Technology. This is for us to give to potential CEOs so that they can realize, oh, here's what we should know. Hey, these guys are educating us. That's great. Let's bring them on board. And again, this is the differentiator. So now I've created this book, which I can really only give to my competitors. Which again is more funny than anything else.
You're spreading the knowledge to the greater MSP community, so
Right? Why? No. So my next book is going to be a smaller book. It's going to be one that we give to our potential CoMITS customers to describe better what the relationship is, how it works, what the strengths and all, and why it's not good for them. Because there's definitely some companies. We had a meeting with a company about 2 weeks ago, and they were interested in CoMITS, and about 20 minutes into it is like, we are not going to take these people on.
Yeah.
Because they did not want to listen to the way we do things. And it's not necessarily you have to surrender every piece of it, but there's reasons we do it. There was the guy was an older gent, and he was, I can do that for free. I can download that for free. I can add that for free. And I'm like, okay, yeah, well, that's good.
Go have fun.
Yeah, have fun. So I will also say that I've got a private Facebook group, co-managed IT services, that anybody's interested to join that.
Cool. No, but this next book that you're talking about, who's going to be the target? Will it be the IT person that you're looking for, or would it be their management?
Well, it's basically going to be primarily towards the IT person, but and this is one where I'm actually, and this is where my brain doesn't work terribly well. I would show you our latest marketing piece is actually a whoopee cushion. Okay, so we go wherever our brains take us. It's not always a good place. But in any case, I actually started with the idea of writing a children's book. That was just kind of like, is this good for you or is it not? And then I was like, okay, why? Because I'm telling IT people they're children.
Yeah.
So that went by. So then I started thinking about, well, write it for the IT person, because they are absolutely, again, they're the pig versus the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
But then write some commentary throughout it, like almost a chapter summary piece that will be from a manager's perspective or from a CEO's perspective. This is meaningful, this isn't.
Yeah.
Because you want to try, you don't want to write for everybody because it'll never work.
Yeah.
But if you have some pieces for these groups, some pieces for this group, but keep the primary focus, I think that might change. That might work. So I like I said, I'm shooting for September
Okay.
to have this guy out. We'll see.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. So I'll keep an eye on Amazon.
Cool.
Well, this has been great. Anything else before we wrap things up here?
No, I mean, I fully plan. Haven't heard whether it's been accepted or not. Famous last words. I'll be doing another CoMITS thing at IT Nation in October, November. And anybody, Bob at simplex-it.com. I'm happy to have conversations with people about the concept. I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, like I said, I think it is too, especially for people who are looking to grow their business. And
and I should mention, we talked a little bit about Robin Robbins earlier. Is she actually sponsored almost 2,000 of the attendees at DattoCon actually got a copy of my book thanks to Robin.
Great.
So, yeah.
And I know just Rob Ray wrote the foreword as well, so that was good.
Yep. It's amazing what he'll do if you kidnap his puppy. For the record, I have no idea if Rob has a puppy or not.
Well, if he does, I'm sure he's locking it up right now. Great. Bob, always a pleasure to have you on and to talk to you. If you're out there listening, there's a link to the book here. Take a look. It's a great read. It's easy read, and I love your writing style. It's not boring by any means.
Cool. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, and I'll see you out and about.
Take care.
You too.